Hi, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Building a Harmonious Family with Nevena Bajalac. And today, my guest is coming to us from Las Vegas in US. And his name is Reid Richardson. And I'm very excited to have him today because we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. And first of all, I'm very grateful because I always struggle to find men on my podcast who are open to talk about parenting. But Reid's story is very unique, and he is a breakthrough coach, but he comes from background of childhood sexual assault, and he's a cult survivor. And this is something that it's happening in the world, but we cannot hear it often. So I'm very grateful to have you here with me, Reid. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. And I want to just tell everyone that this is going to be a very exciting episode, so make sure to stay until the end.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for opening your platform up to these topics, because there's a lot of healing that needs to be had with a lot of young men and women, and there's this new world, this 2021. There's a lot in store for us, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to just be on your show and share what I have.
Well, thank you so much. And I met you through amazing community of Tony Robbins. We're both coaches, and I watched some of your videos, how you work also with families, but I never heard your story. So I'm very excited. I would love for you to share a little bit about your childhood, about this trauma that you've been through, and really thank you for opening up, because a lot of people are maybe going through similar things, and if they're listening, this can be a healing and help for them as well. So thank you for speaking up for everyone.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, as a child, I had parents who loved me, and I think they were trying to do the best they could with what they had. But they both grew up with families who were dysfunctional and had many issues of their own. Most of them due to really extreme, like, cult behaviors within religion, and then also within their own sexuality. Um, my mom was a survivor of abuse and sexual assault, and so some of my earlier memories were hearing about her stories and what she had gone through. When I was 5 years old, I was part of this Mormon, they call them wards, um, and I was befriended by a 16-year-old. He was mentally challenged, and I told my mom, he makes me feel weird, like he's weird, Mom. And she goes, no, he's not. He's just different because he's mentally challenged. He's different. And that boy ended up sexually assaulting me, and I barely survived. Oxygen left my body for quite some time, and so I struggled with a lot of shame around that for years and years and years. And when I finally was able to revisit it, um, and I know this sounds like I'm jumping around, it's weird, but when I was able to revisit that memory, at one point in my life, I was actually able to forgive not only the dad who would beat his son regularly in front of me, but I was able to forgive him and actually forgive all of the members within the religion that I grew up in.
Mhm.
And um, it's amazing when you add perspective and you're able to pull yourself out of a situation and see it from the moon, remove the emotion, and be able to self-heal. And I'm grateful to be here today and be able to help men and women. I mostly help adults. And this is fun because I'm here talking about kids, but I have 5 kids of my own. And I'm really grateful that I had the experiences and I had the healing that I did earlier on in my adult life. So I was able to protect them from a lot of the dangers of the world without sheltering them, like helping them be in touch with themselves and know how to keep themselves safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of what we're missing today, um, whether we're in a liberal culture or a conservative culture, is that we don't teach our kids to equip themselves. We don't teach them to be aware of what's around them, not to be afraid of their culture or their religion, but to be aware and then have self-confidence.
Wow, I love it. And thank you so much for sharing. So, I so much resonate with you saying when you went, when you step back and you can see everything, because my parents also didn't have, my story is a little bit different. They didn't have ideal marriage. So there was a lot of domestic abuse and emotional violence. And I had so much anger and hate around me. And that's how I came through I was looking to heal myself, right? And that's how I came to Tony Robbins and all of these people. And once I managed to heal that, I really scale up in every area of my life. And you really feel this liberation when you are able to forgive. I think you're going to agree with me. When you're able to just forgive and let go of that, and you understand that those people, that's just their awareness. They're just, what their beliefs and system put in them and whatever they were influenced about. And they just didn't know how to do better, right? I think you're going to agree with me. So once you're able to
Correct.
forgive, and you just let go of it, and you actually start loving those people even they hurt you, you really have this pure love. It's such a liberating feeling that I think it's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. And you bring up, there's this two-edged sword when we bring up the topic of um forgive and let go. It's like, it's so easy to just be like, well, I've forgiven them, let go. Now I can just be friends with everybody. Not everybody wants to be friends with you. You may be having a vibration within your life that they don't agree with. They may not like your choices anymore. You may be too accepting.
True.
And at the same time, you may begin to realize you want to have boundaries, and their boundaries don't match yours. And this is what happened with my parents. Mine was a pretty extreme situation where others may not have to go through this, but my parents didn't want to leave me alone after I got married. They didn't want to give me the space that I desired for my life. And they really didn't want to respect my boundaries within how I parented, and really just how I just spoke, how I expressed myself. And they didn't believe that I should accept gay people. So that brought like this big divide between us. And when they didn't respect my boundaries and would show up unannounced, I said, I have to move. Like, unannounced, I'm moving. And so I literally moved hundreds and hundreds of miles away so that they couldn't harass me anymore and my family. And that was one of the most important decisions of my life. Now, I don't have a relationship with my parents, and I haven't for many, many, many years of my adult life. That's not the same for other people. Some others have to deal with their parents. And they have to restore those relationships. And my wife did that with her mother, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like my wife gave me hope of having a decent family, because she had connected with her mother just 2 years prior to us meeting. And so that made me excited about life. It was like, oh, here's a real life example of how parents can heal together. And that was actually the foundation of how we built our life. Is that anything's possible. You can make it through anything and still be a really awesome family.
Yeah, that's true. And I love that we have these two points, because I work with so many families and I've been working with so many different families. And sometimes I love what you said, but I just want to, I think, clarify it in another way. What I think is, once you build this confidence that you know who you are, and you know they're your parents and you have this love for them, but you simply, sometimes you shouldn't accept everything, even they're your parents. And it's the same for your kids.
Mm.
You shouldn't accept everything. So I believe in family is so complex because we're attached and we have this need to be loved and accepted, and family is the first place. So out of this fear as children and later as parents, we would do stuff that are not necessarily the best for us or not necessarily the best for our children, but we keep doing them because we want them to stay. They're our family. right? And once
Yeah,
we detach and we build this confidence, you know what, I have to love myself first. I have to put my boundaries. I want to be happy. What, like you did, and you stepped out. You never know, things might change and things might, you know, improve, but you set the intention what you want to achieve, right, for you and your family and your life.
absolutely. There was a lot that was to be discovered, but I found out very early on in my parenting that I didn't like the way I was parenting. I really didn't. I despised that I wanted to spank my kids. That was part of my culture growing up. That was part of my religion. And I decided that I didn't like that. But it was really hard to just say, no, I don't want to do this, because I needed to have something very opposite. And I didn't have that early on. And so I would try lots of different things. We would try timeouts. Now we're speaking of younger kids here, but we would try timeouts in the corner, or sitting on a chair for so long, or um, picking up rocks. We all different kinds of things. And it was like all I was doing was drawing from childhood examples.
Yeah.
And when I started to read parenting books, they started showing me a lot of the same things, and I got frustrated because my top examples were from something similar. And I when my wife and I started to step out and read new material that was actually non-religious, that's when we were led to better examples. I mean, since the internet, um, really since 2000, like since we have had high-speed internet and everyone has access, or a lot of the modern world has access to it, it's given us the ability to see that there's a lot more out there.
Yeah.
And I am privileged in that I'm a millennial, and that I'm able to search the internet, come up with these books that give me a different perspective that I may not have had if I was parenting in the 1980s.
Yeah, true.
Like, my mom still believes stats from the 1980s about um like AIDS and gay people, specifically gay men. Some of these studies that they did in the 80s that were just false. She still believes them, even though they've been debunked for years and years and years, because she's still living in the 80s. That's where her parenting books were. That's where everything was.
Yeah.
And so that's what she knows. We only know what we know. And but I knew what I didn't want to learn, and then started learning something different. And in the process, I learned this thing called gentle parenting. And I tried gentle parenting. Jess and I did it together. When we did a lot of gentle parenting, the kids were young. I had 3 in diapers. And it's like, I don't want to spank my kids. There's these, they're cute little kids in diapers. Like, no, I don't want to do this. So it was like learning to really speak to them like they're kind of like they're adults,
Yeah.
like they deserve respect. I didn't know what I was doing, and I became too soft on them. Like, I became so soft and gave them so many alternatives, that they were confused. They were confused about their significance because they weren't challenged to be just a better version of themselves every day. They were coddled. I was like there to protect them. I was fierce. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm an at-home dad. Like, my dad was never an at-home dad. I didn't know like who to follow exactly. There's no guru guy who's an at-home dad that I knew of in the US at the time. So I'm like, I just, I felt like I was paving this new way. And I'm sure there were others doing it, but I was going at it like a lone ranger until I realized, oh, there's another element. It's, they need to treat you with respect too. You need to actually show them how to respect and then expect it in return. And that's when we gained this philosophy of kids are like adults. They need to be respected like adults. They need to be treated in a lot of ways like adults, understanding that there's certain stages of life where they only understand so much. And that changed everything for us. It truly changed everything for us. So there wasn't this confusion around it anymore. And I'd say that's what actually helped us get through some impossible events, like getting hit by a hurricane in 2017. our son almost losing his life to Lyme disease when he was 4 years old and suffering from it for years with not being able to walk, being paralyzed and such. So I'm grateful that parenting with respect really saved our lives.
I love how you put it in words. I'm not going to even try to repeat it. I'm going to listen to this episode again because you just explained everything that when I work with parents is the same. And I worked with children for a very long time, and I was doing this thing, like you said, even I didn't know how to put it in words. And then after years, I was like, yeah, you need to treat them with respect, right? They are young and small, they look petite, but they're their own beings and they want to be respected. But I love what you said as well, because what I'm noticing in many modern parenting and this gentle parenting and everything is that, like you said, we just allow so much, and we lose this authority in a way, not old school authority, but really they need to respect you as well. You need to always remember you are the parent, and you are guiding them in a way, so you deserve the respect as well for everything you're doing for them, because this is how they're going to treat others as well in life, and it's how they're going to have to teach their children. So it seemed to me it's been a journey, but that's fun, right? In discovering, even sometimes we want instant results, but in becoming this better version of ourselves, and now you can share that wisdom with others.
It's so much fun. I get such a kick out of it because most modern cultures believe in respect, whether it's for just a man or it's for a man and a woman. There's somebody in that culture who is considered somebody respectful or should be respected. And I think it's sad in cultures when women and children aren't supposed to be respected according to their tradition. But I believe it's not a hard gap to bridge. I think it's really just possible for any man in any culture to just start to experiment with respect and go, if I'm supposed to be respected this way, I can respect women in that way just a little bit. Just experiment with it.
Yeah.
And I know in some cultures it can feel really dangerous because you're only supposed to speak a certain way. But it can even be body language. It can be as you're getting on, as you're hopping in the taxi. Like maybe you can try positioning yourself different. Speaking to young men right now, maybe as a teenager, you're in a position of courting or dating, and you have the opportunity to be the macho man and do what you're supposed to do within your culture. But you have an opportunity to allow a woman, to allow a young lady to be able to have her space, to be able to put down your guard, like quit trying to be so macho, like just be you. What makes you special?
Yeah.
And allow some vulnerability into your life. That doesn't take away your power, doesn't take away your authority. You actually have more authority when you allow others into your space.
And more
I think that would be the first. And more respect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, tell us a little bit more. What is that you and your wife work in partnership, right? So what is that you do? How do you help? Who exactly do you help with? And we're going to make sure we put a link here so people can connect with you as well. So tell us a little bit more about your work now as a breakthrough coach, and what are the areas that you're focusing on?
My main focus right now is working with adults. I have worked with children in the past. That's what makes this interview so fun. It's like I'm working over here, but I get to talk about this, and it's one of my favorite topics. I'm sure I'll dive into it more. First of all, my wife and I actually do have a program that helps parents within the US specifically after COVID. And that will be coming out this year. We have an entire month of videos recorded. It's called Life School. It's not here yet. It will be. But right now, my focus is on helping men and women who have had abuse and religious pains in their past be able to break through those and find massive amounts of freedom so that they can live a happy life. And then the other thing I'm doing, it'll be starting the first week of February. It's a breakthrough group. So here in the US, we have a lot of recovery groups. This isn't a recovery group. We have a lot of counseling groups. This isn't a counseling group. We have a lot of different ways of coming about things, but this group specifically is about teaching how to control your words, thoughts, and actions within community. So it's self-healing within community. And I call it interdependence. And it's a word. It's an actual English word, which is good because I've made up other words and people are like, what are you talking about? And then this time I actually chose an English word. And interdependence is that you make decisions on your own, but you really do have to rely on people in community in order to get what you need and sometimes want, because without community, you're a lone island.
True.
You don't survive that way. You may think you can survive that way. You may try it, but you will fail. And especially when it comes to healing, you need community around you. And so a combination of the tools that I've learned over the past and have tried them in groups and have had a massive success, where there was a man in the manufacturing industry who was able to turn around his entire department, 122 employees, in just a short amount of time. It was under a month, where before that, he had accident reports. His boss was angry at him. Everybody was frustrated, and he was hiding underneath of his desk. He went from hiding underneath of his desk to having an incredible breakthrough with his boss, them becoming good friends, and him receiving flowers like every day for like a week straight. And so it can apply to anyone. He was less struggling with sexual issues. It can apply to anyone who has a roadblock in their life, somebody who's struggled with abuse growing up or as an adult. And so the group is all about that. It's all about being a support for one another, but doing it with this structure of self-healing. And I'm really excited about that. Actually have not even done that online. So this is going to be really fun. I'm just thrilled about that.
Make sure we would just put a link so everybody who wants, they can contact you and join if this is something that interests them. I want to wrap up. I mean, you already gave such a beautiful lessons to us and shared some breakthroughs, but what is one advice or one thing you would give to parents who are listening? Now you can choose any area that you want, but what is something that's really stuck to you and you see maybe parents struggle a lot with, and you feel you have something that can help them?
I'd say number one, use your intuition. And then don't make decisions solely based on your intuition. I know that sounds crazy, but our intuition actually starts in our gut. We like to stay in our heads and our hearts. We start feeling, we start being open to ideas sometimes too early, or we start analyzing like crazy with our minds, and we come up with all these extra words that have nothing to do with where we're headed. It's actually like, if you believe in like aligning your chakras and such, it's in our gut, it's in our stomach. And it's very quick. It's so subtle. When we know what we should do, it's very subtle. So when we feel that, it's not difficult brain work. It's just an indication that something needs to change. Mm-hmm. So our job as a parent is to figure out how that needs to change. So where do we need to look? Where do we need to research? So instead of just believing that it should be one way or the other, black and white, that's what causes parents to really struggle with parenting. It's to find a gray area. And that's typically where we need to look. So the intuition kicks in. What is it? What did it tell us? We don't like something, or we do like something. This direction sounds good. So you write that down and you start to do research in that area. You start to educate yourself. So yes, listen to your intuition, educate yourself. Don't just choose a side. You are the master of your own life, and you can teach your kids to be the same.
Wow, thank you so much, Reid. This was incredible. And I would just wrap up saying also that I really feel that with internet and everything, parents are a bit overwhelmed with all the information, like you said. So I always say you need to become someone who's going to trust your own decisions in a way. What is the best for you and your family? But sometimes we do things because we think they're the best, because it's the only way we think. Like you said, maybe slapping the children. We need to discipline. A lot of my culture in my home country, they still believe that disciplining the children is the way to go, right? That we still children should still be punished. So this is just an awareness. So every parent does the best what they think is the best for their child, but unfortunately sometimes that's not the best. So spread and your awareness, expand your awareness, but then become someone who can trust your own decisions and say, hey, this is what's going to work for me and my family. This is who I want to become as a parent. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Reid. Thank you, Reid, so much. And I really, really, I'm so grateful for you for opening up, sharing. There is not so many men, like you said, who's going to put down their guard. They all hide their emotions and their traumas. And this is going
Yeah.
to be so inspirational for many. And I'm sure the listeners enjoyed this. I want to thank you for being here, for always listening. Make sure to subscribe, to invite people to listen to the podcast, share this episode, download it, and I will see you in the next one.